My family called me a guest in my own home, so I cut off every payment and watched them drown in the debt I once covered. Back when I was in college, my sister totally took over my room. My dad just shrugged and said, "You don't live here anymore." So I shot back, "Okay," then quit asking me to chip in for the mortgage. The silence that followed was intense. That summer, something weird happened. I'd already gone through 3 years of college, living off energy drinks and dealing with endless group projects. I had been looking forward to coming home after exams. I was longing for my bed, my bookshelves, and the old scratchy carpet where I'd pace around during high school. That was what home meant to me. At first, the signs were small, like nobody asking when my bus would get in. No "can't wait to see you" messages from mom. Even my sister Emily didn't send her usual teasing texts. I just figured everyone was busy or tired. But when I finally got home, lugging my duffel bags through the front door, things felt off. All my childhood photos were replaced by stylish prints that weren't my style at all. Emily's vanilla candle scent filled the air, which was odd because she was 17 and still in high school, hardly the type to redecorate the whole house. I tried to brush it off with a smile, thinking maybe she'd just spruced up the place a bit. But then I got to my old room, the familiar door with its old "keep out unless you have pizza" sign now gone, replaced with the words "Emily's Sanctuary" in fancy gold letters. My heart sank. I knocked and walked in, only to find everything changed. My desk missing, my carefully selected posters gone, and my bookshelf neatly labeled with "Garage Donate" in pink Sharpie. Where my bed used to be, there was now a full-length mirror and a ring light. Emily's photos and makeup cluttered a new vanity in the space. I asked, "Where's all my stuff?" Barely looking up from her phone, Emily casually replied, "Oh, Dad packed it. You said you don't live here anymore." I was floored. "What?" I asked. Emily shrugged, "We redid the room last month, you're just a guest now." I went looking for my dad. He was just flipping through the mail, like this was any normal day. I asked him why Emily was in my room, and he nonchalantly said, "You don't live here anymore." No apology or anything, just like it was the most natural thing in the world. Yet, last month, he'd texted me asking for extra money for the mortgage, claiming I still officially lived there. I took a deep breath and replied calmly but firmly, "Fine, then stop asking me to pay the mortgage." The silence that followed was heavy. Even Emily appeared in the hallway, stunned and silent. It was as though I'd broken some unspoken rule of always pitching in without asking questions. My dad just looked at me, as if I'd broken some cardinal rule. But I didn't back down. Eventually, he mumbled something about my attitude and left the room. I didn't follow him. Instead, I went outside to the back porch steps, feeling the warmth of the sun on the wood. I looked out over the yard, noticing little changes, like Mom's new lavender flower garden. I thought about money. For 3 years, I'd been sending checks back home. It started as $150 a month, just a little help because I still technically lived there, as Dad put it. Even though I was scraping by on dorm food and side gigs, I wanted to support them. I still felt connected to the house, or so I thought. Over time, the requests for money grew, $200, $300, sometimes more, with random Venmo requests for utilities or maintenance. Every time I'd hesitate, there'd be a message about family pulling together. I believed it, right up until I saw my old room turned into Emily's new space, with my things boxed up in the garage, labeled for charity. So, there I was, feeling like just another dusty old chore on the spring cleaning list when I suddenly remembered something from last semester. My sister Emily had posted on Instagram about her fancy new vanity mirror with adjustable lights. Her caption was something like, "Finally got the glow up I deserve. Blessed." I liked the post, left a comment, and thought, "Hey, I look good here." But then it hit me, I paid for that mirror. Suddenly, I felt exhausted, and it had nothing to do with final stress. It wasn't just about the space I lived in. It was also about budgeting for frozen burritos and doing laundry in the dead of night to avoid the dorm crowds. My family had slowly cut me off financially, while still pocketing the payments I sent their way. That's when I grabbed my phone and opened my bank app to check my recent transactions. They were all still pending, and I hadn't even made the May payment yet. It was just sitting there, waiting. So, I hovered over the cancel button and hit it. One less bill to worry about. Then, I disabled the auto transfer my parents set up a couple of years back, which was supposed to make things easier. They told me no more, so I skipped dinner with them that night and grabbed a burger at this small bar I used to hang out at in high school. I sat alone in this booth where my friends and I would cram in after football games. I wasn't on the team, band kid here, but they always saved a spot for me. This time, I was saving one for myself. Just me and my thoughts, and surprisingly, it felt kinda nice. The fallout didn't take long. The next morning, I was making coffee when Dad walked into the kitchen with that look he gets when something's eating at him, but he doesn't feel like talking about it. He casually asked if my transfer went through because he hadn't seen it hit the account. Without even looking up, I said, "Nope, I canceled it." Silence. He blinked. "You what?" I finally looked him in the eye and said, "You told me I don't live here, so why should I pay to live somewhere I don't?" He put his mug down a little too hard. "Don't be dramatic, Mark," he said. There it was, dramatic, the word they used whenever I said something they didn't like. Not angry, not rude, dramatic. He tried to tell me I'd been helping for years and was just stopping over a room. I let out a cold laugh. "It's not just about the room," I said. "It's about how you've all made it clear I'm not part of this home anymore. Emily tossed my stuff. You said I don't live here. You made that choice, and I'm making mine." He tried the guilt card next. "We've been counting on that money, son. The mortgage doesn't pay itself." I raised an eyebrow. "I've been counting on having a family that respects me. We don't always get what we want." That's when Mom walked in, dressed for work, peppermint tea in hand, acting like she hadn't heard a thing. But her eyes bounced between us. She knew. "Mark," she said, "let's not do this while you're at home." I put down my coffee. "I'm not home." "You made sure of that." I left the room. Later, Emily got brave enough to knock on the guest room door, formerly her room, which they offered me as a consolation prize. She leaned in the doorway, arms crossed, hair and makeup perfect as ever. "You're really blowing this out of proportion," she said, like I was overreacting over a broken pencil. "You moved into my room without telling me. Painted the walls and everything," I replied. "It's been 3 years." She just shrugged. "Well, sorry, but you weren't using it." "I paid for it," I pointed out. Her face twisted. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means the mirror, the desk, the paint, you funded that with the money I sent. Enjoy it. It's the last you'll get from me." She wasn't expecting me to fight back, and her mouth dropped. I was supposed to be the dependable big brother. No more. She stormed off, muttering something I didn't catch, and didn't care to. The next morning, I packed my bags and left. No dramatic exit, no heartfelt goodbyes. I just zipped up my suitcase and walked past Dad, dozing in his chair, and out the door. Mom stayed in her room, and Emily was probably off getting smoothies with her friends, clueless about the storm she helped create. I hopped in an Uber to the station and caught the first train back to uni. It was summer break, sure, but the dorms were still open. So, I spent a few weeks in a pretty basic setup, not exactly living in luxury. Thin beds, plain white walls, and the constant hum of vending machines in the hallway were all part of my deal. But, hey, it was all mine, and I felt like I'd earned every bit of it. No one could take that away or change it to suit someone else's vibe. One afternoon, I sat down at my desk with my laptop open and a half-empty Red Bull by my side, ready to fire off some emails. Nope, not to my parents. Forget that noise. I reached out to scholarship offices, internship places, and student housing committees. I was done bending over backward for a school that saw me as nothing more than a number. From now on, I was doing things for myself. And guess what? That same week, I got an email that changed everything. I had applied to a marketing agency during midterms, and they offered me a summer internship. Paid. Full-time. Downtown office. I had to read it 3 times before it actually sank in. I called the number in the email and said yes before the person on the other end even finished asking if I was in. 2 days later, I signed a lease for a tiny studio apartment. It wasn't much bigger than a dorm room, and the bathroom had tiles older than I am, but it had a lock, a tiny balcony, and space for my stuff. I used all my savings to cover the deposit and the first month's rent. But for once, my money was going towards me. Finally, no more mysterious Venmo requests tagged with water bills or 1 a.m. texts from Mom asking if I could pitch in this month. I shut down access to the family bank accounts, changed my passwords, and stopped automatic transfers, something I should have done ages ago. Then came the messages. At first, they were just checking in from Mom, asking what happened to this month's payment. Then they got more intense. "This isn't how our family does things," Dad said. And then the guilt trip, "Emily, you're punishing all of us because you're upset I needed that room." I didn't reply to any of them. Instead, I posted a picture on Instagram, just my new apartment keys on the counter with a 6-pack and my laptop. Caption, "New chapter." No hashtags, no explanations. I knew they saw it. The silence afterward said it all. It lasted 3 days before Mom caved and sent a long, emotional email wanting to talk. That line about me always being the reliable one cracked me up. Dependable, like a paycheck with feelings, right? I didn't respond. The next day, I got a bank notification, Dad again, asking for $100 for plumbing issues. I declined it. Then a $200 request popped up. Declined that too. That night, I shared a pic of my office badge. Just the lanyard and the company logo against a shiny glass wall. Caption, first week. It hit them hard, even if no one liked it. I imagined Emily showing it to Dad, who'd just be sitting there in shock. Meanwhile, Emily broke the silence with a dramatic outburst on social media. She posted a blurry picture of her new room and wrote, "Miss my piece. Some people are just selfish." Real subtle, right? Mutual friends started asking what was up. She didn't tag me, but she didn't have to. She made me out to be the villain, and everyone knew it. A mutual friend sent me a screenshot of her private story, a crying selfie, a boxed up vanity mirror, and a caption saying, "I gave up everything for this room. Now I might have to move back into the guest room. I hate it here." I didn't reply. Just watched. And yeah, it stung a little. Not the drama, but realizing I'd paid for 3 years to keep that illusion going. I funded that comfort, that mirror, that attitude. And now, it's gone. She didn't know it yet, but I was just getting started. It was a quiet Tuesday night when my phone lit up again, not a text this time, but a call. "Dad." I let it ring. When it went to voicemail, he called again and again. Finally, I listened to his message. "Mark, hey, just wanted to check in. Maybe I said some things I shouldn't have. We miss you. Emily's upset. Your mom, too. Maybe we can talk things over. Yeah, come by this weekend." I looked at the screen, his words still echoing. Come by this weekend, like nothing ever happened, like I could just walk back in, hand them a check, and act like everything was fine. I deleted the voicemail, cracked open a beer, and moved on. I grabbed a cold drink from my mini fridge, stepped out onto my tiny balcony, and just soaked in the city lights, twinkling like faraway stars. I knew those lights weren't winking at me because they missed me. Nope, they missed the cash. After that voicemail, it was like someone opened the floodgates. Texts, emails, you name it, they came rushing in. Not just from my folks, but from the whole extended family crew. Even my Aunt Cheryl, who I hadn't heard from since my brace face days, hit me up on Facebook. "Hey, sweetheart. Maybe you should come home and talk things out. It's just a misunderstanding, I'm sure." "Yeah, right." Uncle Pete joined in with a group text, "The family doesn't give up on each other. You're better than this." It was like they'd all banded together, maybe with Dad leading the charge, saying, "Let's guilt him into fixing this." I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I posted a pic. It was low-key. Just a close-up shot of my apartment windowsill with a small potted plant I'd just bought, sunlight streaming in. I didn't use any hashtags or tags, but I knew they'd see it. My aunt unfollowed me 2 hours later. The whole point was, I wasn't after loud revenge. I wanted the kind of quiet payback that made them sit in their own silence, the kind that came from just living well. So that's what I did, I started living better. I cooked in my own kitchen, got a bed frame, and even signed up for a gym membership. Weekends were all about wandering the city, checking out new coffee spots, and picking up some freelance gigs to bolster my savings. Each little step felt like reclaiming a part of myself I'd been neglecting for years, and I made sure they saw it, through consistency, not bragging. I shared about laminating my work badge, got recognized internally for a completed design proposal, and framed my first paycheck, hanging it proudly above my desk. It was all just enough to sting, without being too in your face. Back home, things weren't so rosy. Mark, an old buddy from the neighborhood, shot me a text out of the blue. "Hey, is everything okay? Your sis was griping about sharing the bathroom again." Lol. I asked what he meant. Turns out, Emily had moved back into the guest room, my old room. She must not have realized I stopped sending money until after she staked her claim. Mortgage payments lagged, and the guilt trip turned into a blame game. Mark said he heard her yelling at Mom in the driveway one day. Something about ruining everything and how she thought I wouldn't desert them. It was almost poetic in its irony. They wanted me to disappear in that house, and now my absence was haunting them. About 6 weeks later, the cracks started showing. They tried to keep up appearances at first. Emily kept posting as if everything was perfect, sun-kissed selfies in her car, videos of her friends dancing in her room, ignoring the fact she was back in the guest room with those dingy curtains and a squeaky bed frame. Mom tried texting like everything was casual, like we just hadn't caught up in a while. Hope you're doing okay. Miss seeing you. Want to come over for dinner next Sunday? I didn't reply. She followed up with a pic of my old bookshelf, now half empty, like some weird metaphor. I guess they put a few of my books back, trying to make it feel like my space again, hoping I'd change my mind. I didn't. Dad didn't text much, but Mark said he was asking around about cheaper ways to refinance the mortgage. Seemed like the utility bills were piling up, and their central AC broke down in early July. They were sweating it out through the same walls I once helped pay to insulate. The kicker was they couldn't even ask me for help without admitting they'd trashed the bridge. Meanwhile, I was moving forward. My internship turned into a job offer, not full-time yet, but they wanted me to stick around through the fall. Part-time, flexible hours, and better pay. My manager said I had a unique mix of detail orientation and grit. I smiled because all this drama had given me that grit. The old me would have caved, would have replied to the texts, smoothed things over with a couple $100, just to keep the peace. But not anymore. That house? It wasn't my home. Their problems weren't my responsibility, and their disappointment wasn't my weight to carry. I started picturing what life could be like without constantly feeling obligated. Choosing peace over pressure, and let me tell you, peace is seriously addictive. One night, I got back from work, still wearing my badge, my shirt a bit wrinkled, shoes scuffed from the train station. I dropped my keys in the bowl by the door, cracked open a cold beer from the fridge, and stood by the window. The city lights were twinkling away. Just as I was getting comfy, my phone buzzed on the counter. Dad again. Another. So, my phone started ringing, and you know what? I just let it go. Didn't even bother picking up this time. I just watched it buzz around, saw the name flash on the screen, then disappear. After it stopped, I took a slow sip of my beer, leaned back in my chair, and couldn't help but smile. Next morning, my phone buzzed again. It was a message this time, no hi, no punctuation, just straight to the point, "We need to talk, Dad." I just stared at it blankly, let the screen fade to black, and felt nothing at all. No anger, no guilt, just a strange peace. I turned the phone face down, grabbed my keys, and headed out. No more stress about whether I was needed or wanted. I wasn't anyone's go-to person anymore. Later that night, I got back home, kicked off my shoes, and cracked open another beer. This one was colder than the last. The apartment was peacefully dim, all mine. The phone lit up again from the counter, but I didn't even glance that way. I just leaned back, took another sip, and let the silence linger. Finally, I felt like my time was really mine. Thanks for sticking with me through this roller coaster of family drama. If you're into Reddit family tales, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you're always in the loop for the next one.